and cost accounting? Anyone? Give me one. Ooh, I got a woohoo. Don't buy it. Well, most people enjoy this class more than they think they would. So, we'll see how that goes. I don't even know where to start. This class is something that every one of you will use in your careers. Every one of you. How many of you are going to be auditors? Working inside of a company. Working for a big four, whatever they are now. Auditing for anywhere. Okay. So auditors are going to use financial accounting. Everybody who's in management in some way uses cost and management accounting. The class will focus on both strategy and concepts, and it has some techniques. There are a lot of techniques in management and cost accounting. We teach them, but I don't stay focused on them only because I think that you'll learn them in your careers as you need them, and you'll forget them after the test here. But if you can understand strategies and understand why things are the way they are, then you're better off in this class. So, before we get started, let's do what every class does. Let's go through the syllabus. How many of you printed it off? You have it? It's on Blackboard, along with a lot of other stuff. The text. How many of you got it? How many of you don't have it? How many of you have no plans on getting it? There are lots of different ways to buy it. Figure out the way that works best for you. How many of you have purchased My Accounting Lab? Right here. Nice. And there. I got you. Here's the story on My Accounting Lab. Every class, you'll have homework. Here's the homework, chapters 13, 1, 2, and 3. The only way to do it is on My Accounting Lab. I don't collect it. I'm not grading it. You don't do it, I don't care. But if you don't do it, you probably are hurting yourself as it relates to really understanding the techniques. The homework is where you'll get to practice the techniques of management accounting. So I'm not collecting homework. You guys have a lot going on. I've taught in this program before. I know it's fairly... I feel sorry for you guys. It's like boom, 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 constant. I get it. So I won't collect the homework, but you should do it. There are also classwork assignments on My Accounting Lab, which sometimes we'll do them in class, sometimes we won't. If we do them in class, sometimes I'll collect them, sometimes I won't. But they're also on My Accounting Lab, so if we don't do them in class, it's more reinforcement of the topics. So as you have free time, you can do the work. So I very strongly recommend you get My Accounting Lab, and there are ways to purchase it alongside of the textbook to keep your costs down. But you all can work that out. You're adults. So make sure when you purchase this, you get the 14th edition. They just came out or are in the process of coming out, because I've seen a copy of it of the 15th edition. Don't get that one. It's obviously going to be more expensive. 14th edition. Once you get My Accounting Lab, it says in here, in the syllabus, which section you should sign up for. I may take a look from time to time to see who's doing it, who's not to grade it, just to understand, how we're doing in keeping up with it. I'm not an expert with My Accounting Lab, so when you have a technical problem, and you will, it's annoying in some ways. Don't text me, don't email me. Text and email tech support for Pearson, the company that runs it. Please. We're ready. Thanks. If I've misspelled your name on the attendance sheet, just change it. I'll get it changed. I apologize. I did it quickly. Some course requirements. we have how many classes? 8, 9, 10? I don't know how many. You're expected to attend all of them, obviously. Of course, if you have a family illness or a religious thing, it's all understood. Let me know in advance. That's what I ask. Punctuality. Punctuality. I've never been late for a class, and man, I wanted to be today. I did not get any sleep last night. But I've never been late for a class. I don't want anyone to be late for class either. So be here on time. And the people who aren't here yet, can you tell them when they get here? So I don't have to repeat it. Be here on time. It's, I'll start exactly at 8:30 every day. I hope to get us out early. My goal. But it's kind of rude to come in late. First of all, it's telling me and everyone else in the class that something was more important, probably in your cases, sleep. And it's disruptive. Somebody comes in that door, it's kind of like, it just jars me away from my thought process, then I've got to get back to it. So please be here on time. That's all I ask. Grading. Don't worry about grading. It says here, well, let's talk about grading all at one time. The class will have a project component, which we'll get into fairly shortly. We'll talk about. We'll talk about the project, and I'll create some teams. I know you have teams in all your classes, right? And some of you really like your teammates. Some of you wish you had different teammates. Some of you picked your friends or whatever. I'm just going to assign teams. Just randomly assign teams, because that way those who didn't get lucky don't have, they don't get screwed. I'm just going to do it randomly. So everyone's going to have a teammate. And you've probably been what's this year? 4th semester? 3rd? You probably had everyone in the class as a teammate at some point or another. So we'll do it again. A pretty good part of your grade will be based upon your team. How much? 30% will be based upon teamwork. Well, 25% really. Be a good teammate. Be a good teammate. I know many of you probably have your jobs already lined up, and it's like, okay, I got to do this, got to get through this. Some of you don't, and you're like, I got to get a good grade. Everyone's got in a different place right now in this program. Be there for your teams. Right? That's how you show up with a team here is how you'll show up in the real world. And show up the right way. I do hold the right to not grade all team members the same. We will have a 360 review at the end. How many of you have had 360 reviews in some of your other sections? Okay. So we'll do 360 review, so everyone gets to kind of rate their team and rate other teams, and you'll see how we'll do that. That's it on teamwork. The project. The project will have 3 deliverables. 2 interim deliverables, which we'll talk about today, and a final deliverable. The final deliverable will be in a group setting with the other section, and I like competition. You guys will be competing against them. And the teams will all be competing against each other on that final presentation. So you'll have presentations and you'll have papers. Hopefully we scheduled it in such a way that your big work, your major work, is not conflicting with some of your other classes. Professor Sinella is very good at kind of having everyone working together towards that end. So hopefully there's no problem with that. What else do we have? The honor code, don't cheat. Got it? Got it. We'll have 2 exams. I'm trying something new this time. The final exam will not be cumulative. We'll try it. I don't know why I'm doing it. It'll be the exam day, but it'll just be half an exam. It'll be shorter. So you'll have each exam is worth 35% of your grade. 35%. So add it up, it'll be 70%. Your classwork is worth 10%. Attendance, being on time, not sneaking out before the end of class, that kind of stuff. Participation. This is going to be, it doesn't feel that way right now, but this is going to be an active participation class. I cannot talk for 4 hours, and you cannot listen for 4 hours. The average person can't listen for more than 15, 20 minutes, even if it's management accounting, which is really interesting. But this will be participation based, and so I'll get to know you all at least reasonably well as we go. What else? And then the case is worth 20 points. There are 2 interim deliverables, each worth 5 points, and then the final presentation and paper worth 10 points. Communicating with me. It's my cell phone. The best way to reach me would be to text me on my cell phone. Don't call. So text me on the cell phone. Don't leave me a voicemail. How many of you listen to your voicemails? Me either. Because they're sequential, right? And people ramble. Before you know it, it's 5 minutes in and you don't know what they're talking about. So just send me a quick text and we'll figure out when to get together. You can email me. I'm on email all the time. If you have a question, either one is fine. Everyone has access to Blackboard? Okay, I would hope. I load all of the slide, PowerPoints on Blackboard. This is our agenda. If you look at it, we have like 2 or 3 chapters each week. This week we have 4. This is a survey class. Cost and management accounting is normally 2 separate classes. So 2 semesters worth of work. You're doing it in really less than 1 semester. So, we'll pretty much cover everything, every chapter in the text, more or less, but we'll cut some stuff out along the way. Stuff that I think is maybe a little arcane, a little less important. But it's a lot. Pound. So, the key things on the schedule. The week of the 19th, no class. You probably know that already, right? We don't have class that week. Of course, I also teach undergraduate, and that's their spring break. So I'm taking my spring break that week. We have 2 classes to make up for that on April 22nd and 23rd. 23rd is our normal class. The 22nd is a class that's a combined section for both sessions. My intention on that class is to allow you to use that time for your final projects. So I'll be here to help you if you want, but you'll break out into your project teams. However, I'm holding out if we're falling behind on the chapter work, that we can use that time to kind of fix any problems we're having. So, and then we have our second midterm during finals week. Any questions on the syllabus? Any questions on the class? Nothing? Yeah, thank you. What's the format for the exam? Both multiple choice and open-ended. Approximately half and half. Approximately half and half. Usually I'll give you like 5 open-ended and you have to do 4 out of 5 or something like that. I try to make the tests not definition based, more conceptually based, but I sometimes succeed, sometimes fail. Can everybody hear me okay in here? Can you hear me back there? Can you hear me back there? Because there's a lot of noise up here. It interrupts. Any other questions?
How many members per group?
4 to 5. 4 to 5. And we'll do that in a moment. We're going to actually, for those of you who are here, I think we have 32. I just did a quick count here, so that allows me to have 8 groups with 4, and then the other 7 who aren't here yet, who we're going to all glare, when they walk in, let's glare at them one at a time as they come in. Okay? Help me out. Stop everything when they come in, and we'll just wait till they sit down. So 4 or 5. Okay? So let's divide into teams now, and you can reorganize to sit with your teams. It's a good idea to sit with them because you never know when classwork's going to come up as a team assignment. And as you guessed, the way we're going to do this means that you're not going to sit next to your friends because the way I'll assign the teams are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4 per team. So you know your number. Find your teammates. And whoever's the first one here, if you're late, come on up front. We all want to talk to you. Ask the person next to you, you're one less, unless he's. He said I'm 8. So you're 7 more. If you're late, come on up front. You missed a discussion in the syllabus, guys. Key concept in the syllabus. Class starts on time. Okay? We do that seriously here. So we get you out early. Nobody's disruptive. We're all good and polite to each other. Okay? Today, no problem. Stay here. Put your, just right, initial yourselves in. So somebody likes their new teammate. Hell yeah. No, you guys stay up here because I haven't assigned you to a team.
All right.
I haven't assigned you to a team. I have. Did anybody else just come in? There were 4 of you. Where's the 4th? Oh, there he is. Okay. We'll make it easy. 1, 2, 3, 4. Find your team. All right. 1. Is Yunji here? Yunji Kim? Melanie? Wen? Ching Fan?
Were we supposed to pick up something for our group?
Which team are you? No, I haven't done anything yet. I want to judge the group. I'm going to give you guys something. Okay, we start on time from now on. Are you late also?
Yeah.
So you're not on the team. So give me your initial.
I'm on the team.
How are you on a team? I didn't assign you, did I?
Yeah.
I did?
I didn't decide, but I'm on team 5.
How are you on team 5? Did you decide or did I decide?
I didn't decide.
I'm sorry. How did you get to team 5 if you're late? Did I? Oh, she was sitting there? Oh, okay. Now I understand. Are you new to the group?
Yes. Not to the program, but I just registered.
Okay. So you're now also on team 5.
Team 5. Very
Yeah.
good.
Team 5. That's with yeah. Okay. First rule of thumb, the first one here for any team decides where they sit. For that, the entire team gets to sit that day. Your team. Okay, I'm going to be nice to you. That's team 1. Where's team 2? Oh my God. Doesn't really matter. Seems appropriate for you guys. Here's team 3.
Right here.
Okay. Team 3. Team 4.
Right here.
Team 5. Team 6. My printer was running out of black ink. Sorry about that. Team 7. You're on team 7 too?
No, I've had like the numbers.
And where's team 8? So everybody has a company. That's your company for the semester. Is that how most of your classes work? Are you all assigned a company? Most? No? Okay. So it'll be a little bit different. Let's talk about the project. At least phase 1 of the project. This is a little bit confusing how it's going to work. So please ask questions. Please. Do you have trouble seeing this light is on? If whoever's in the back there, can you just figure out how to just turn off this front light, not all the lights, because they'll go to sleep. You'll go to sleep. I will too. Too many. If anybody knows how to do that. Did I not load it? I think I didn't load it, but we could talk about it anyway, if I could find it. No, I should load it. It should be on Blackboard by now. There we go. Okay, so everyone into a project team. This will be your team even when it doesn't relate to the project. So we'll have some classwork where you work together. Next to your company name is a letter, A or B. Come on up. No, come up. No, you can't just sneak in. Come on. Come here, yeah. Sign in.
I'm so sorry. I'm so traffic. I'm so sorry.
Now, 6, that's your new team. Team 6.
Okay. I'm so sorry.
No, you get to sit over here with your team.
Okay.
I can't get angry, right? Can't get angry at that. Okay, so if you have an A, each of you have a company. The other class will have a similar company. So if you're Pfizer, the other class will have a team that's Merck. If you're JP Morgan Chase, the other team will have a class that's Bank of America. Tell me your company, I'll tell you the other team. Walmart, what do you think? Target. Amazon, eBay. Apple, what did I do? Google. I did Michael Kors. Any others? What's that? Ford, GM. At least yours makes money. Is that all of them? So the other team has one. And the final project is going to be you and that other team head to head, presenting. How many of you like to do presentations? Okay, too bad they're all on the same team. How many of you hate to do presentations? Honestly? Really? Okay. The reason we do them is because a lot of people hate to do them. And the only way to get over hating to do them is to do them. So it's opportunity. So if your team is a team A, so on your piece of paper, it had an A or a B, very clearly. 4 teams are A, 4 teams are B. If you're a B player, B team right now, there's no difference. It's just the order of events. Don't listen. It's just going to confuse you. So play dots with your neighbor. This is for the A teams only. On March 26th, the week after my break, not yours, you'll have a presentation. This presentation will be a definition of the strategic position of your company within the industry that it competes. You'll talk a little bit about the background of the industry and the background of the company. You'll talk about the mission statement of your company. We'll get into all these things when we get into Chapter 13. We'll talk about the 5 forces model as it relates to your industry, the SWOT analysis for your company, and your company's strategic positioning. At a minimum, you'll do all these. You'll notice that when I give assignments, I don't have a minimum, I have a maximum, because my experience with presentations and papers, it's much easier to keep on talking and hope you said some things that are useful. So I have a maximum, no more than 15 minutes. So that means you need to be thoughtful on what you're going to say. Every team member must speak approximately equally. You need to figure out ways to be interesting. It's everyone's natural tendency to just tell everything they know. But if you're Amazon, you're wasting everyone's time if you say Amazon's the biggest global online retailer. Everyone knows that, right? Get past that right away. So you want to be impactful and succinct. Impactful and succinct. Those are the words that I think are important in a presentation. Make it matter. Make the audience care. Rule of thumb is people will only remember 3 things you say. So figure out what are the 3 things you want to get across and get them across. You'll hand in your presentation material. So if you use PowerPoint or whatever tool, just all you have to hand in is your slides. So that's what you'll be doing on March 26th. These are for Team A's. On April 2nd, the B team will be doing what I just described, and I'll describe it again for them so there's no confusion. But the A team will have 2 responsibilities. So the following week, you will write a paper no longer than 4 pages, double-spaced. 4 pages or less. Proper format and grammar. Here's what I get with a lot of papers. You know, there's 4 people on a team or 5 people on a team. They say, okay, I'll do this part, I'll do this part, I'll do this part. You know, 3 hours beforehand, they hand in their parts, and it's not a paper. It's 5, hopefully it's the same font, but it's 5 different people just saying stuff. A paper is a paper. You pull it together, it reads well. One of the reasons why I kind of randomly create teams is I recognize that quite a few people are English as a second language, and hopefully the teams are such that people who are English as a second language are mixed into the teams, where grammar is a little bit more difficult. And so somebody else on that team should help with the grammar. That's part of my thoughts on that. Obviously, if you're using an outside source, you have to tell us the outside source, otherwise you're plagiarizing. The paper will do the following. It will talk about the key success factors and the core competencies of your company, and the reason that you have defined them as the key success factors and the core competencies. And then it'll talk about contemporary business drivers and cost management techniques, which we'll talk about as part of Chapter 13 in just a half hour or so. So you'll talk about those 2 things as outlined in Chapter 13, and you'll describe why you chose them as important for your company. That's the first part of what Team A will do on April 2nd. The second part of what Team A will do on April 2nd is you will be, if your Team 1, your partner team is Team 2, 3 and 4, 4 and 5, 5 and 6, you have to be especially alert during the presentation, if you're Team 1, especially alert during the presentation of Team 2, so that you, because I will call on individuals from Team 1 to ask probing questions to understand why Team 2 made the decisions they made. So your second responsibility is to be ready to ask those probing questions. And they're not pre-planned. They're based upon the presentation. Okay? So this is the interim deliverables. You have 2 of them, worth 5 points each towards your grade. That's for the A team. The B team, it's just the opposite, but I'll go through it for you all. I'll do a little bit faster. So the B team will have a paper due on March 26th. Their paper will be no longer than 4 pages with the proper format and grammar that cites the appropriate sources. And that paper will define the strategic position of your company within their industry with the same 5 topics, and will you'll be ready to ask a probing question to your alternate team. So you'll be listening carefully on March 26th and be ready to ask that probing question. And then on April 2nd, you'll get a chance to do your presentation on your company's key success factors and core competencies and the business drivers and cost management techniques. No more than 15 minutes, impactful and succinct. Make sense? Ish? Any questions? What team number are you? 2A and you're 1B. Okay, so when they go on April 2nd with their presentation, because they're a group, so they present on April 2nd, you will be specifically focused on their presentation. And there are 5 of you, or 4, I don't know, 4 of you are probably, no, there are 5 of you in the team. I will pick out one of you, I'll know your name somehow, and say Joe or Susie or whatever, do you have a question? And you'll ask a probing question. I won't necessarily have all 5 of you, but each one of you need to be prepared to be randomly picked to ask a good question, to create a dialogue about the presentation. Okay? And then when your presentation comes, they will be the ones. So if you're mean-spirited, they can get back at you. Any other questions? That is the final presentation where you're competing against the other team, the other class. That will be I think it's the last day of class, in a large auditorium. Let's hold off on talking about it. It's not. I've done it in the past. I may tweak it a little bit, so before I tell you exactly how it'll be, more than likely what team are you? Walmart. So you'll be on stage or up front along with the target team from the other class, and you'll be able to figure it out. I'm not going, you can just find out, right? So you can decide you want to work together, you can decide you don't want to work together. There'll be leeway for you to decide if you want to approach it. Okay? No, you could have appendices. Good question. Questions? Sound like fun? I could tell by the faces the answer is no. It'll be more fun than you think. I hope. It's always tough to come into the PA classes because by this time you all are like a closed loop. Usually a professor comes into a classroom and nobody knows each other or just a couple of students. Here, you guys all know each other. You're like a team against the professor. Tough. Okay. If that's it, we could get on with the course. Yes, sir.
Will there be a paper due at the end of the week for the final?
Yeah. Yes. That's what I'm hoping you'll have a session of 4 hours where I won't have class, and you'll really get to focus as a team on your own to do that kind of stuff. That's my goal. Okay, so we're going to have this session recorded. I'm sure some of your other classes are also being recorded. I've had a previous version. It was one of the first recordings that we did, and it was pretty low quality. So we're going to re-record the session. If you're up here and you're being recorded, you will be edited out. The students shouldn't be recorded. And so we have editors. What's your name again? Anmar? Anmol will be the editor also, so she'll know take you out so that you're not being recorded. And so presentations won't be recorded or anything like that. They won't go. But the class itself, hopefully in a timely fashion, will go up on the internet. So if you miss something, you can come, you can go and check it out. It'll have marks, so for a specific topic, you only go 7 minutes into the class and start listening to 7 to 13 minutes where there's a specific topic you might not have understood. So it might be helpful for you all as you're studying or whatever to go back to the lectures if you need to. Okay? With that said, I'm ready to go. It should be working. Okay, we ready? Like any good course, we'll start with chapter 13 and then go backwards. Should I? Come on up. Class starts at 8:30.
Okay. I was running late this morning.
It starts at 8:30, okay? From now on. Sign in and find team 7.
Okay.
Oh, you're not already on the...
No, I'm gonna go today and straighten it out.
Where's team 7? Okay, got it. Okay, so I said it before we started, management accounting is something that everybody will get involved in. And just so you know, I use cost accounting and management accounting interchangeably. So I don't even think about those words in the class. But if you think of any company, it starts with objectives. A company has objectives on how they want to do business. From those objectives, they create a strategy. From that strategy, they have some kind of implementation. They implement their strategy. Now, to figure out how well they're doing, you need a feedback mechanism. That feedback mechanism is management accounting. If done correctly, it ensures that the organization is aligned to the company's strategic objectives. It's a set of tools that allow you to control and plan within the organization. And of course, after implementation, there's also financial accounting that happens as well. But management accounting is the control and planning process. So I think before we talk about the techniques, we should talk about strategy. Have you talked about strategy in some other classes? So if I'm bringing up topics you've done before, let me know, and we'll run through them quickly. So chapter 13 has a couple of topics, but the only ones we're going to really talk about are strategy, and we'll talk about the balanced scorecard and some contemporary management accounting techniques. And as always, ethical considerations. So strategy specifies how you match your capabilities or your core competencies to the opportunities to accomplish objectives. Now in business, it's to maximize profits or something of that nature. In sports, it would be to win a championship. They have a strategy, which the New York Knicks don't have, to win a championship. Nor do the New York Mets, nor do the New York Jets, all of my teams. Now, back in the 70s, there was a fellow, Michael Porter. How many of you have heard of Michael Porter along the way? Few of you. Michael Porter, brilliant professor from Harvard. And I would show you a YouTube video, but there's no sound. I can't figure out how to get the sound. Just a 2-minute video of him talking about strategy. And he came up with something called the 5 forces model. The 5 forces model. You can look at, now the 5 forces model pertain to an industry, not to a company. And you can look at any industry and determine how strong that industry's role is, or companies in that industry are, compared to the environment around them. So you look at supplier power. Supplier power. The companies that supply the raw materials, either materials or labor, that a company needs. If the power is high, your probability of creating an unusual profit is low. If the suppliers have power over you, you would struggle to make a profit. Same thing for the buyer power. The buyer power. If the buyers have strong power, you would have trouble making a profit. These other 3 are about competition. So you have inputs and outputs, and these other 3 are about competition within the industry. If there's a lot of very strong rivals, what's that going to do to your ability to charge a high price? It's going to suppress it. So you have, if rivalry is strong, you'll have a difficult time making a good profit. The threat of substitutes. Can somebody identify a different product that's similar sort of to your product in some way, so they don't need your product? If they can do that easily, then your ability to make a profit is reduced. And finally, potential for new entrants. How easy is it? What are the barriers to entry? If there's a high potentiality for new entrants, your ability to make a profit is suppressed. Some industries are very strong, and their players make good money, and some industries are weak. So here's what I'd like to do. All the A teams, think about the 5 forces as it relates to the cola industry. Cola. Coke, Pepsi. Just cola, not all beverages, just cola. That was the A teams. The B teams, think about the 5 forces as they relate to the airline industry. Okay? One of these is a good industry, the other one struggles. Take 5 to 10 minutes and work within your teams and think about whether, remember, if the force is high, that's bad for you, because the force is stronger than your ability to replace it. So take 5 to 10 minutes and think of the 5 forces for those 2 industries, and we'll come back together. Yep, you're going to do work? So we can't stop during this? Okay. Okay. But so when you stop it, it'll continue to
I could pause it and then resume.
pause it. Perfect. Yunji? Melanie? Where's Alia? Can Alia raise her hand? No problems at all. You opened up a little can of worms. I got 3 or 4 others who wanted to
did?
switch into this class.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, no, so
Come
maybe
on,
it had
just
nothing to do with
mention
you.
it.
Yeah.
No,
I said no to everyone else, just so you know. So you're the
Okay.
only one. All
Okay.
right, let's switch. Okay? You
yeah, I didn't tell anyone.
go. Okay.
like that.
Okay. No problems. No, you didn't do anything. Each team, when you're done working on your 5 forces, come up here, choose one force, and write high, medium, and low, and be ready to support it. For just one of the 5 forces. I know there are going to be 2 forces, I'll carry them. You guys are done already? You're the fastest team ever.
Because we have cola, the threat of entrance.
It's not a different beverage.
Right.
Yeah.
It's low because it's such a
Stream. What's that thing that we can make your own cola? That would be a new entrant. That's somewhat of a threat, by the way. But it is probably whatever you think it is. Put your team number down also, so we know. Yeah, A doesn't matter. We know that everyone for cola is A, and good. She comes late, but she plays immediately. You can only do one. Oh, I thought you did one. Okay. You got great energy. Every class needs one of you. Come on, B team. Oh, I'm sorry, were you doing this one? You can do any one you want. I can't even read the center. I just did the 2 that nobody else wanted to do. You disagree with me, by the way. I could be wrong. Yep, yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, let's do, which one do we want to do first? Cola or airlines? Cola it is. I say I did supplier power. And I say supplier power is very low. We don't know what's in cola, but we're pretty sure it's basic raw materials and some chemicals, right? It's probably some cinnamon. I taste a little cinnamon in Coke. Maybe a lot of high fructose corn syrup. They have no power. These are commodity products that get combined in some magic formula to make people want to buy them. So there's very low power for these suppliers. Buyer. Who did the buyers? Team 8.
Buyer power is high because it's very easy for you to use another product. So like $4.
Okay. How many agree that it would be high? Well, your team agrees. Any other thoughts on buyer power?
I think it's low. Do we think it's low?
Okay.
Because Coke, customers are very loyal. Pepsi customers are very loyal. So even if you increase the cost of Coke, people will unlikely switch to Pepsi because they're very loyal.
How many of you drink Coke? How many of you drink Pepsi? For those of you who drink Coke, if you had to pay 25 cents more for a Coke than for a Pepsi, would you stick with your Coke? No. It's tough to ask younger people. That 25 cents makes a difference. So, I think it might be medium. I think there's a lot of brand loyalty, that people think they like one more than the other. But I do think that you can switch between the two. On the other hand, you're probably not going to go to RC, right? It's limited to 2. So in that respect, you have the buyer power is pretty low because it's just 2 choices anyway, right? They don't have 20 different choices; they have 2. So because there are only 2 choices, it's probably that depresses it. It's not a bad business if you can get 40% of the market. Rivalry. Right.
Between those two, those are 2 major companies.
We think it's a threat because they can compete for contracts. Even if in the grocery store people have a preference. If you go to, we use the example of like a sporting event or a fast food restaurant, all of a sudden your rival might take that location and have it sort of monopolized, and then all of a sudden
What did Pepsi do in the 1980s? Say again? They did that for marketing, but they bought Taco Bell and bought a series of fast food companies, en masse. And then they sold them. But they bought it so they could establish their brand in those fast food companies, because it's very hard for Taco Bell to switch from Pepsi to Coke. It would be a very difficult switch. So they bought them, they established, and then they sold. I think that rivalry is very similar to buyer power. There's a huge rivalry between 2 companies, but it's just 2 companies. Again, they own the market, so it gives them a chance to do pretty well at 40% each, or 45, 35. Threat of entrance. This. Been drinking?
I get pickups every day.
Okay. Threat of entrance? Right. I think the newest entrant, the one that's showing a little bit of a threat but not much, is that make your own cola thing. SodaStream. But still, it's 1%, 2%. But yeah, it seems very low. I would agree with that. And finally, threat of substitutes.
That's pretty low from Coke because Coke owns a lot of its own substitutes.
So if you looked outside the cola industry and said there are other beverages that Coke and Pepsi.
Yeah, we were just talking because Coke also owns Fanta.
Yeah. This is probably the biggest threat, I think, to them.
Yeah, I checked them and I think it's very high because the Pepsi
Remember, substitutes are not Coke versus Pepsi. It's Coke or Pepsi versus bottled water versus orange soda versus iced tea. Okay, it's substitutes to Coke. And I think this is a growing problem for them as people become more health conscious, looking towards substitutes. I used to drink Coke. I don't drink any cola anymore. So it's a growing problem. But overall, this is a good industry to be in. I mean, we kind of changed this one maybe to medium and medium. Maybe this is medium here. But according to Michael Porter, who did the analysis on this, he called this a 5-star industry because back when he did it, everything played well for them. Opportunity to make a lot of profit. Now we have the airline industry. Supplier power.
There are two different factors, like the gas, that would be really high.
So you have gas.
The raw materials that it takes to build the airplanes and the business isn't that gas.
Yeah, but the airlines don't build it, right? You have Boeing and GE are your suppliers. Or
Then it would be high.
then it's high. They have a lot of, and the third one is your labor, which is unionized. Labor is also a supplier. So this is, I would think, would be high. Buyer power.
We said high because they did with meetings where not available, but also multiple outlets supply something.
Right.
More of its price line that will also use to get off the meeting.
So it's high. First of all, it's high. It's a commodity product. You're buying a seat, and you're going to go to lowest. And because of the internet, it's easy to understand price and go for the lowest price. So what are airlines doing to try to combat this? Merging. And, trying to get rid of the competition on the routes that they are on, that they fly. Rivalry. I say it's high. They all know what each other are charging, and they essentially fix the price. If one raises the price, they sit there and hope that the others are going to do the same. If they don't, they have to bring the price right back down. Delta just changed their frequent flyer program. So instead of it being based upon miles, it's based upon the amount of money you spent. So they're trying to get business travelers more frequent flyer points than someone who's shopping price. And the other airlines are just waiting to see what that does. And if it works, they're all going to switch over. So the rivalry is very high because they're all competing for the same seat. Threat of entrance.
Said it was low because of the requirements and cost of the industry. Try to a lot of contacts and a lot of regulation you have to deal with. Try to compete. The last one I can really think of is like JetBlue. It's kind of like a smaller, got a lot of things to make.
Okay.
It's kind of been the same for a while. Same players.
And due to the rivalry and how they operate on the lower margin, you see a lot of those airlines that are not actually making money.
Yes, they're
It's got to give a feeling industry as well to have the entrance.
a couple of things on the threat of entrance. It is relatively low. I think it's relatively low mainly because there's no money to be made, so why bother? But it's also, it's not as hard as you think to start an airline. You don't have to buy the planes. None of these airlines own their own planes. They all lease them back from GE. It's because they don't make money, GE makes money, so GE gets the tax breaks for leasing them. So you can start an airline relatively easily, but there are very few models that start up and make money. Maybe Ryanair over in Europe, there are a couple, but it's a little tough. So I would stick with low. And then threat of substitutes. Who did that?
Yeah, we said it was high. We stated because there are so many options of which airline to choose. And also, like traveling, you can choose a lot of different ways to travel. You can car,
Okay. Remember when threat of substitute, so it's not other airlines you're looking at. It's, it's taking a boat, taking a car, not going on the trip. That would be substitutes. Other substitutes nowadays are video conferencing for business travelers. That's a substitute to airline travel. I think it's probably lower. Maybe medium is what I would say. So generally speaking, Michael Porter said this is a 0-star industry. It was a different era, but it hasn't gotten any better. True commodity product. All you're doing is selling a seat on this tube that's hurtling through space. So that's the 5 forces model. It helps you to define your industry, and you'll see where that takes us in a moment. Where's team 8? You guys have a new player? Join your team. And then at our first break, why don't you come and see me? Okay, go sit with your team now. You can start it again. So, Michael Porter said that every company strives to be one of 2 things. Now, this is an oversimplification. As you look at your companies, they have different divisions that try to meet different market segments. But overall, every company is looking to be one of 2 things. Either a cost leader or a differentiator. A cost leader or a differentiator. So a cost leader outperforms the competitors by producing quality at the lowest possible cost. Cost leadership does not mean low quality, because then you won't be in business very long. It's very important that you differentiate that. So when you relate cost leaders back to management accounting, you need tools, if you're going to be a cost leader, that allow you to really manage your costs. Make sure you understand the cost of production and you carve every unnecessary penny out of that cost so that you can make a profit in a very tight industry. What's the only airline to make a profit? Consistently? Southwest. Why do they make a profit?
Because long-term, they bought up a lot of the fuel costs at a cheap price.
They hedge their fuel better than anyone else. They hedge their fuel.
They also have happier employees because they have a bit of a say. I mean, not a lot.
They have happier
Feel better, so
employees.
it's sometimes an interest.
What's the one more thing that they do? Anybody know? They fly only one type of plane, a 737. That allows them to have their unique model for getting on the plane because they have the same number of seats on every plane. It allows them to have lower maintenance costs because they don't have to teach their mechanics 12 different planes. They have to only understand one plane. So they have figured out a model to be a cost leader in a very tough business. And I don't believe, at least from my view, when I have a chance, I fly Southwest. I don't believe their quality is any lower than their competition. If not, in my view, it's higher. So it's possible. Then you have differentiators. Differentiators look to create a value for their customer through innovation, features, customer service, or the perception of these things. This doesn't always have to be reality, right? Coke and Pepsi are better because they told us it was better. They told us enough so that those tastes are in our brain and we think they're better than RC, right? So it could be perception rather than, yes?
Certain industries confer more to one of these models than the other. Are there certain industries where people are always going to go to a cost leader and others where people are always...
Sure. I mean, there are some industries that you'll have both in there, but if you make screws, it's going to be hard for you to differentiate your screw from somebody else's screw. They better be strong enough to handle the tense, the tension of whatever drill's going to turn them. But you're going to be a cost leader if you're going to make money. The car industry has both. Toyota, BMW.